Has John got a new motor? Does he like driving in his car like madness? Well, he does. Tell him to steer clear of any queues, especially queues at careers fairs, because he doesn't want to end up doing what the guy done in this novel. Hi guys, welcome to another video. Hope you're all keeping well. Now, it's book review time again. So for this video, I'd like to talk a little bit about this book written by Stephen King and published in 2014, and that book is called Mr. Mercedes. Now, this is the first part of the three. This is the first book in the three-part trilogy. Featuring the character, the main protagonist, Bill Hodges. So if you're not, he's sort of like a retired police detective and that, and he's aided by a couple of like, sort of like friends and that, to solve this case, But if you're unfamiliar with Mr. Mercedes, I'll just read you the blurb, at the back of the book, just to give you an idea of the story. So it's a riveting cat and mouse suspense thriller about a retired cop and a couple of unlikely allies who race against time to stop a lone killer intent on blowing up thousands of people. Now, retired homicide detective Bill Hodges is haunted by the few cases he left open, and by one in particular. In the pre-dawn hours, hundreds of desperate unemployed people were lined up for a spot at a jobs fair in the distressed Midwestern city where he worked. Without warning, a lone driver ploughed through the crowd in a stolen Mercedes. 8 people were killed, 15 wounded, and the killer escaped. Now, months later, on the other side of the city, Bill Hodges gets a taunting letter in the mail from a man claiming to be the perpetrator. Hodges wakes up from his depressed and vacant retirement, hell-bent on hunting him down. Brady Hartfield lives with his alcoholic mother in the house where he was born, and he is preparing to kill again. So yeah, guys, there you go. That's the blurb about Mr. Mercedes from 2014. This is my favourite book in the Bill Hodges trilogy. There were 2 more, End of Watch and Finders Keepers, but I didn't really enjoy them as much as I enjoyed the first one. You've got a real psychopath here, in the form of Brady Hartsfield and that, and a good protagonist, in the form of Bill Hodges, and then it's sort of like the couple of misfit friends who help him get to the bottom of this case, try and solve it and that, and the way the psychopath taunts Bill Hodges and that, he's ruthless and that, and he says, like, every time he kills and that, he says, he expresses, like, he doesn't pull any punches about, like, deriving pleasure from murdering people and that, and it does start with a bang, this movie, because you've got this crowd of people forming, for this big jobs fair, this big careers fair. And like I said, they're all waiting to go in and that, and suddenly this car comes from nowhere and that, and it plows into the crowd, and it's a real sort of like a real vicious opening, this real brutal opening, this, guys, and it kills and wounds so many people and that, in the queuing outside for the jobs fair. And then of course the story unfolds from there, and that, introduces the character of Bill Hodges and that, and his friends and that, and it's a very enjoyable book, and that, it's not really strictly it's not one of King's horror novels, but it's more of a police procedural, a psychological thriller, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and as I said, that's why I've kept it in my collection. I think this is one of Stephen King's best non-horror novels and that, and you may know, if you are familiar with the story, that they made a TV series, Mr. Mercedes. I've personally never seen it, so if any of you have seen it, let me know what it's like. Leave your comments down below. But this is a great novel, this, guys, it really is, and so it's one of King's finest non-horror works and that, and did I say the way it starts off and that, the car just comes from nowhere and it plows into these people and that, it's pretty horrific and that, so I'd highly recommend this novel to anybody you know, even if you're not a Stephen King fan, it's a good psychological thriller, Mr. Mercedes. And as I say about the TV series, I've never seen it, but I'll try and get round to watching it and that, you know, yeah. And yeah, so there you go, guys. That's me review of Stephen King's 2014 thriller, Mr. Mercedes. Have you read this novel? You know, leave your comments down below. Yeah, I'd be very interested to hear, you know, what you thought of it. Yeah, and as I said, the characters are really good in it, and that, you know, good story and that, you know, written in King's usual consummate style. He's got a very good talent, you know, for creating characters and that, you know, likable and believable characters and that, yeah, and just throwing them into all these situations and that, you know, yeah, and some very gripping situations in this book, guys. Yeah, there's one or two horrific moments and that, aside from the Jobs Fair slaughter with the car and that, you know, there's one or two other horrific, but I won't go into those. I'll let you read the book for yourself. Yeah. Okay, guys, so that's my review of Mr. Mercedes and that. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it. What's your favourite Stephen King book? Leave your comments down below. Yeah. Okay, guys, well, that's it. All going well. I'll talk to you all again soon. Stay safe.